We have a stereotype in law that we've been living with for a long time, several centuries, in fact, that emotion is just bad for judging. That's our typical narrative. Emotion is irrational, judges are supposed to be rational, ergo, an emotional judge is a bad judge. And sometimes, of course, that's true, and sometimes that's also true with anger. But what's special about anger is it is a judgmental emotion. When you feel angry at somebody, that means that you've made a judgment that that person has acted badly without cause. And that's actually exactly what we expect judges to do. When people complain about judicial anger, I believe they're talking about a very specific sort of judicial anger, which is unbounded, uncontrolled, undirected, or unwarranted anger. So feeling angry for no reason, feeling angry for a bad reason, or expressing their anger in a way that's actively abusive. Those are bad things. We are actually starting to talk with judges about their emotions, try to understand how they perceive the role of emotion in their own judging, how they regulate their emotions. And my hope is that will, over time, help create a mindset among judges that this is something that they're allowed to think about, that they're allowed to be self-reflective, and that they should actually help one another find functional, productive ways of channeling anger, sadness, joy, all of those emotions they just can't help but feel because they're human beings. The entire country started debating judicial emotion with, of course, the nomination of Justice Sonia Sotomayor to the Supreme Court, where she was accused because something President Obama had said of taking an unduly empathic view of judging. And the idea was that she was going to bring this unique emotional style of judging to the court, which was going to destroy American democracy. And it was a fascinating moment for me to observe because suddenly the whole country was, in fact, debating what is the role of emotion in judging. And it was interesting to see a few people come to the defense of empathy and say, there's nothing wrong with the judge having empathy. In fact, something would be wrong with you if you didn't have empathy. What we want from judges is we want them to care. And a fundamental part of human caring is emotion. So if we try to wall them off from emotion, we are actually walling them off from a fundamental tool of judging. The biggest judicial presentation I've given thus far was at a sentencing conference for federal judges. And the topic, it was me and 3 federal judges all discussing the role of anger and emotion at sentencing. And that was really terrific because what's different about criminal sentencing is it's a moment in the legal process where emotion is not only a little more allowed, but actually a little more expected. Because the judge is no longer worried about having to mask his or her emotions to not influence a jury, the person's already been judged guilty, so you're not prejudging the issue. And it's actually a moment where the judge is, again, almost expected to reflect society's feelings about what happened. So expected to reflect some anger, if appropriate. Also, a lot of judges talk about the fact that they feel a lot of sorrow at sentencing. They feel sorrow for the victims, if it's a victim crime. Sometimes they feel sorry for the defendant and the defendant's family, especially if that person is going to be serving a long prison term. They're afraid often of making a mistake. They're afraid of being too harsh or too lenient. They feel sometimes hope if they feel that they're imposing a sentence that might help a person change and turn their life around. They're coping with a lot of emotions. And again, they find it very relieving to be able to talk about that, because a lot of the judges say that they feel constrained or awkward about how much emotion is appropriate to express at sentencing.